So this was the very first attempt. First time in both our lives that we touch this kind of material. So now it has the resin all over, it has peel ply on top of it, and now we need to wait till tomorrow to see how it comes out. There are some air bubbles, certainly, but maybe that's not a big thing. It's not a structural thing, we're not building a boat. It is just to protect this from rain and act as some insulation. So we used 2 layers of that, and because it's the very first time, we stop here, and tomorrow we then continue on the other sides. So as we are trying to learn how to work with this material, this is going to be the lid, and this time we only have 1 sheet of fiber and the peel ply on top of it. We were thinking that we are not looking for a structural element, but we want to protect it from the rain, and so the resin actually will do this job. And we've been also thinking that maybe we don't need any fiber, but just the epoxy could also be. But we'll see. So we have here 2 samples, and as long as water cannot come in, we have succeeded. We are not building a boat, so that should be good. So here we have another piece of the electrical installation. This tiny little box there was pretty hard to install because it's so tiny, but it is submergible, so the electric connection on the inside should be pretty safe from any rain. I don't like this. In the future we are going to use something different where there is more space, and I also don't like the way how we use the cable ties to hold the cable, but then the cable is pretty strong, so that should be okay. But I wish something that takes the tension out of the cable, the mechanical tension. So making progress here. Our cypress trees are recovering. You can see some of them already becoming greener, so this is not a total loss, but we were close, I have to admit. And now we are in the process of installing this. The Wi-Fi module is missing, that's what I'm going to install now. And then we should have control over the 2 lines. We can have up to 4 with this controller and irrigate at will. This is a temporary installation because we need to build our fiberglass boxes. And as you have seen in the previous clip, I think, we have started to do this, but we will not wait to irrigate before we have this covered. So we continue to do the temporary installation, which is okay. But of course I don't want this over the winter in this way. So everything should be stored safely in a better way. This stuff is made for getting wet occasionally, but I don't want the controller and other electrical components like the 2 connectors there at the top, those red things, to be exposed. So therefore I want to install this later in a fiberglass box. And I think the fiberglass boxes, this is our future model. So this is a short-lived thing, but it works. And that's important, because you don't make any experience if you try to make it perfect and then take 5 years. This is what is very common in Germany. And also I am from there. I am more the short-lived variety that you can find on the other side of the pond. I do like this more, because you figure out quicker what does not work. And therefore, overall, you get better results. In one of the last videos, some of you offered some comments, some remarks about the sun hemp and the irrigation issues and why things are not developing more or less like this. So this gets sufficient water. It happens to be that the sun hemp is able to grow with very little water. It's not the first time that we do this. But of course, here and there might be a spot where it is a little bit drier. Tonight this will get water again. But yes, it is definitely not the extremely moist ground here. But there's something else that I would like to point out. And it is the structure of the soil. So here never anything has been planted. And of course this also never has been plowed or in other way worked the way like you would when you plant crops. So this is the very, very first time. And the harrow that was used to prepare this ground only goes maybe some 15 centimeters deep. And below that, it is the way it always has been. And that means heavily compacted. And I think that is one of the reasons why these sunflowers that are definitely developing are not taller. Simply because they cannot penetrate. And the sun hemp we use because it has a taproot. And it can help to penetrate this. But of course it all depends then on the water on the surface. So this is the first attempt to do something here in order to improve. And of course, more water would certainly be helpful, it always is. But then the ground is soft. So here where I'm standing, the moment I move, of course you can't easily see this and I can't easily film it, but I feel that the ground is soft. So there is something that is a little bit better. But of course, more water certainly would help. So if you look at this here, so here you can clearly see that sun hemp has emerged, germinated, and then it dried out. So in this particular spot, for some reason, there wasn't enough water. So yeah, I'm not saying we water enough. We have to manage a very rare, very scarce resource, and we definitely need to improve the water storage capacity that we have to make this better. But the reason why these plants are small is not just one thing. And one of the big factors and why they are here is to improve the soil structure, to give it some structure, because it doesn't have any at the moment. And we are researching and talking to people and thinking about this, and your comments are also another source of information how we can improve this going forward. And I think I said this a few times already, there will be a lot more water storage, so that we have more water that we can spread onto designated areas. The numbers, once you calculate this, are mind-boggling. So a rainfall is such a great event that brings so much water, and it's so sad when it runs away. It's been a while but eventually this was now possible. So here we do have some new Bermuda grass. I had been waiting for the moment, and now I was able to spread some of the seed out here. The area gets irrigated from here, and so it made sense to get this started. So this is another patch of Bermuda grass, and it is germinating, and soon we will have another grassy area. And later on I hope to plant some trees here that will provide company to the palovnias on the inside of the farmyard. And eventually there will be an industrial type fence for the dog enclosure, so that we can lock them away when we have visitors who are not supposed to mix and mingle with the dogs, because not everybody is comfortable with that. To have a little bit more structure and control over things. So this is just a few days old, and it is germinating very well, or growing very well. It germinated already. So I'll give you a little close-up of the new grasses. We also had a different sky today. It was definitely cooler and the sky changed. There was a 31% chance of rain, but of course that does not mean it will actually rain. But you can kind of feel that a change is coming. We are still in August, but it might very well be that at the beginning of September we get rain, like we did a few times. So summer is soon over, the harsh part of it. Irrigating here with those wobblers also makes this patch grow. So this is also very positive. Eventually this whole part here should be completely green, and we will add some reinforcements here. There are these things that you can use so that vehicles can travel over grass without sinking in or destroying it. I wish we had this in place before, but a dump truck and an excavator had to pass here before there was a chance. But the goal is to level this a little bit. It slopes to the left, and then turn this area into grass, so that this area looks nicer and nicer and nicer. And of course here to the left, this will then also disappear, as will eventually the whole temporary house, once we start building the actual house finally. So this is not a permanent solution. And it does not turn into compost on the outside, because bacteria are killed by the UV light from the sun. So it is compost on the inside, but on the outside it looks ugly. So the future version of that is going to be different. And we also will have for the actual house a septic system. So there will be a septic tank, and that goes into the grey water pond, which is behind this. So this is just a temporary thing, but it will pretty soon disappear. The hens over there, they are free ranging, so whenever their coop is open they can do whatever they want, and they always go for a walk, and they also go there where it gets moist from the irrigation, because apparently there are bugs, and that makes the yolk very, very nice. So that's a very positive thing. It appears they like this very much because it's moist and cool, so it helps them to cool off from the hot day. And I did cut this because of course we're irrigating, and the palovnia trees are growing very well, and what I wanted to create an opportunity, and that grass should continue to grow here, so that we have this full of Bermuda grass. Of course later we will then have to fight it, but soil cover is pretty important, and there are other ways to grow some veggies. Also there is Bermuda grass, So that should work out. But first, the soil cover is important. Because, you know, we don't have this. And so we need to find every shade that we get. And later we will then modify it again so that we can have some veggies.